अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप गदा माह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्ता राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। जयतं सुरतौ पङ्गुर्ममामन्दामतिर्गति मत्सर्वस्वपादम्बोजो राधा मदनमोहनौ दिव्याद्बृन्दारण्यो कल्पद्रुमदः श्रीमद्रत्नागदौ सिंहासनस्थौ श्रीमन् राधा श्रीलगोविन्ददेवौ रस्तालिभिः सेव्यमानौ स्मरामि श्रीमन् रासारसारम्भी वंशिवातस्ततः स्थितः कर्षण्डेनोर्सनर्गोपीर्गोपीनाथा श्रीयस्तु नः। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गे राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरि वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। नमः ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नित्य नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नास्तप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भागवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं मुखारमृतधरापि संयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसं महालयं मुहुरहो रसिका विभावकः। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमः पङ्कजनाभाय नमः पङ्कजमालिने नमः पङ्कजनेत्राय नमस्ते पङ्कजाङ्घ्रि। त्वयि मे आनन्दविषया मतिर्मधुपतया सकृत् रतिमुद्वहता ददा गङ्गे भौगं रङ्गतिः। O Lord of sweetness, as the Ganga forever flows to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction be constantly drawn unto you without being diverted to anyone else. Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Rukna Vinashana Simhaiti Namine Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayatim Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna everyone. So welcome back to our Srimad Bhagavatam session today. So Gongsi Fachai in advance. And yeah, so we are having chapter 17 and the title is Punishment and Reward of Kali. So we are doing part 3. Hopefully we will complete the chapter today. And before we go to this topic, let us look at what we have covered previously in this chapter. So, so this chapter began with the setting of the crime scene. The crime scene meaning Parikshit Maharaj was going about his kingdom on his chariot, and he came across near the banks of the river Saraswati, And over there, he came across a scene, a very, very a scene which Parikshit Maharaj would never have dreamt to have seen. And it's where a cow and a bull in his kingdom was being attacked, and they were in terrible misery. So, and this was done too by another king, or apparently one who looked like a king, who were dressed like a king. But by looking at his features, it looks like the person who was dressed like a king was a low class person, a very low class person who was pretending to be a king. And in this way, he was performing his activity of attacking the legs of a bull. And this bull was a very, very beautiful, white as a lotus flower. And he was striking the three legs of the bull were already broken, and the one single leg for which the bull was hobbling along, he was striking that leg. And next to that bull was an extremely beautiful looking cow, but the cow was crying tears. It looked extremely miserable. And this kind of scene Parikshit Maharaj came across. So it's a crime scene, because in Vedic society nobody harms the cow or the bull, right? They are in fact protected. The Vedic society has a concept called Go Raksha. Go means cows, Raksha means protection. So we just go through a very quick recap. So here we heard about, in the previous sessions we talked a lot about Go Raksha and how Go Raksha cannot exist without Brahminical culture. You can't just have artificial Go Raksha, simply catch a few bulls or a few cows and then put them in some place and then charge people some money and then oh, come and touch the cow. No, it doesn't work that way. It has to be a change in society, and it must be done in a whole scale way. Of course, cows need to be protected, so there are cows that may be in the streets who may be saved from the slaughterhouse, and these cows can be given a home. But simply for the sake of business, that is not called go raksha. Goraksha has to be in the society. So the society can only accept Goraksha if it's a Brahminical cultural society. So there needs to be Brahminical culture given to the society. When the society is awake to Brahminical culture, then Goraksha will automatically follow and it will support. They will coexist with each other. So we talked about that previously. And then uh, so what happened was, in that scene, Parikshit Maharaj, immediately he came across that scene, he's challenged the personality, the false king. So Parikshit Maharaj was the emperor of the world, and he was a Raja Rishi, extremely great personality. We have already spoken quite some time about Parikshit Maharaj. So such a personality, a pure devotee of the Lord, protected by the Lord directly, a great personality coming from a great lineage of dynasty from his family, Pandavas. So being a very great personality, he immediately challenged Kali, that personality. So that personality, that false king, is known to be the personification of Kali. The entire, if the Kali Yuga takes a personification, then he is that person. So in dressed like he has a features of a very low class person, but dressed like a very opulently like a king. But his activities revealed his hypocrisy, because a real king, a Vedic king, would never be doing the activities which he was doing, striking down the bull and the cow. So immediately Parikshit Maharaj challenged, and then we heard how the difference between a true king and a false king, or a false leader, or a false government, or a false administrator. So the ideals of a true king and a true leader was established. So the contrast was seen. Parikshit Maharaj represents a true king or a true leader, and and the personality of Kali represents the false king. So we spoke about that at some length in the previous session. And then he halts Kali and he stops the scene, and then he doesn't strike, he doesn't just act blindly. So Parikshit Maharaj also sets a good example of how a king should act. Before he uh, took action, he made inquiries. So he checked, there was the bull over there. Apparently, the bull Bhagavatam describes is none other than the personification of religion himself, Dharma. So Dharma took the form of a bull, and the cow next to the bull was none other than Dharini or Prithvi or Bhuma Devi. Bhuma Devi herself took the form of a cow. So both Bhuma Devi, the cow, representing the earth, and religiosity or Dharma, represented by the bull, were there. And Parikshit Maharaj, he didn't know, of course, at that time who they were, but he made an inquiry. So then he questioned. So we also heard about how true leaders will give protection. The main purpose of leader is not mainly administration. The true purpose of a leader is number one purpose is to give protection. Sarva Bhutanam, protection to all living entities within his kingdom. And secondarily comes administration and everything else. So that is the main thing. So then Parikshit Maharaj reassures Dharma. So he talks to the bull and then he finds out, he conducts an inquiry. So first he reassures the bull. Now, oh bull, you are safe. Don't worry. I'm here to protect. Now, please tell me who has done this to you? What is the cause of your lamentation? So even though Parikshit Maharaj saw firsthand the cow, the bull and the cow being mistreated by the personification of Kali, but still he wants to hear the evidence directly from the bull also. Because people sometimes see something, but what one sees is not actually what is real. So therefore, a double clarification is required. So he sets the example of a real, very just king, very wise and just king. This is how one should act. One should not just jump to conclusions straight away. One should wait. So then, in that inquiry, we heard bull speak. So there, the bull introduced himself as the personification of. I mean, really, he didn't introduce, but the way the bull spoke was very, very wise. So he started when Parikshit Maharaj inquired, who was the cause of your lamentation? Who is the cause of your suffering? The bull didn't straight away say anything. In fact, the bull said, well, there are many, many reasons for my lamentation. So many causes of suffering. So in other words, we can understand in the age of Kali, one's suffering can be due to multiple causes. We cannot just point everything to one person or to one item. There could be various reasons why something is happening to another somebody. So devotees, but most importantly, we talked about how no matter where the sources of suffering may be, it could be karma, it could be and karma can have many instruments. It could be various people's hands acting in the hands of karma. But it could also be the destiny in terms of the Lord's desire. So the Lord wants to have certain instructions come our way. So it could be one reason. But either way, the pure devotees of the Lord always learn to see the hand of the Lord in every situation they are in. Whether it's happiness or suffering, they always see that it's happening to me because there is a reason for it. So I have to try to find out what is Krishna trying to teach me, or what is Krishna trying to help me with. So there are many reasons. So the more we read Bhagavatam, the more we hear Bhagavatam, we will get insights into why things are happening to people, why things are happening to particularly to devotees. And in this way, we will learn how to begin to understand the lesson Krishna is trying to teach us. Every situation is a test. Every situation is an opportunity for advancement, be it happiness or distress, right? So sometimes people, even in happiness, people forget everything. People forget spirituality. People forget sadhana. People forget the Lord. That means we failed the test of happiness. We were not equipoised in our thinking. And in times of misery, we sometimes people remember the Lord, but sometimes people also curse the Lord. They will start cursing. Oh, what kind of a God are you? I did this. So then people have failed. So that is where understanding comes in. The Siddhanta, the proper understanding, the examples of the devotees of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we spoke about this at length in the previous session. And also, the bull was also giving an example of how in Kali Yuga there are many, many opinions in Kali Yuga. So, could be many reasons. Many people give different opinions. So, anyway, after the bull spoke this way, Parikshit Maharaj was very impressed. He was so impressed that he said, "You must be none other than Dharma himself, because the way you spoke the fine aspects of religiosity, which I don't think any normal personality could have just spoken. So that means I'm quite sure that you must be none other than Dharmaraj, the personality of religion himself." So then Parikshit Maharaj began to talk about how, although you're Dharmaraj, you're hobbling about in just one leg. Dharma stands on four legs, but three of your legs are broken and useless. Only one leg is remaining, and that also is being attacked by this personality of Kali in the form of deceit. So, deceit is the enemy of truthfulness. Truthfulness is the last leg by which Dharma is standing, and deceit is being used to attack it. So, it's still standing, but it's in danger. And the other three legs of Dharma, which is Daya, mercy, uh, austerities, tapa, and cleanliness, purity, or saucham. So three of those legs are already broken. Only Satyam is remaining. So then we spoke at length at that also about the four legs of Dharma and Kali. So then, but Parikshit Maharaj also understood in the absence of the Lord, the earth is exploited. So, yes, then he spoke to Kali. Do you think because the Lord is not here that you dare to behave in this way? That you do not think that there's anyone here to protect the earth and religiosity? Do you, because Lord Krishna left the earth, right, before this, and when he left the earth, so then Bhuma Devi was very, very sad. She was lamenting. We heard earlier how Bhuma Devi was also crying because she was in separation of the Lord. So she was remembering when the Lord was here, everywhere on earth, the lotus marks of his footprints were all over my body. But now the Lord has left, and I am crying in lamentation. So then Parikshit Maharaj immediately said, so to Kali, to the personality of Kali, "Oh, who are you to do this? Do you think that just because the Lord has left, that there's no one else to uphold Dharma? So, and you dare to do this to the earth?" So in this way, we can understand in Kali Yuga, this kind of things will happen, right? Dharma becomes abused. Religiosity becomes abused. In the name of religion, many horrible things will happen. And the earth becomes exploited. So that we already see, we already know how the earth is being exploited. And then Parikshit Maharaj also mentioned the Lord's will and energies are inconceivable. So why these things are happening? Why these things are happening? Of course, there is a plan. The Lord has his plans. Everything acts for a purpose, right? So this is the time of Kali Yuga. So therefore, these things happen, but it's still by there's a purpose behind this. It is a fast track to push people, to get them to quick. It's one thing is to punish the sinful people who are all born in during Kali Yuga, right? But at the same time, it is also to give them a very, very wonderful opportunity to create such a situation on earth that people, out of desperation, will quickly attain to the salvation that the Lord provides, which is the Harinam Sankirtan. So very easily people can take it because they are already in such a situation. When people are very happy, when people are in good situations, when you go and talk to them about spirituality, normally people don't become so interested. But when people are suffering, when they need some kind of deliverance, when they're praying, and then a method or an option or a way is given, then people quickly surrender to it. The surrender becomes very quick. So therefore, Kali Yuga happens in this way. It's like it increases the temperature of the fire, so that people wake up from being in the lap of Maya, and they realize the true nature of their predicament, and they quickly grab out and accept what the mercy that the Lord gives. So anyway, so therefore the Lord's will and his energies are inconceivable. A devotee knows this and he understands that whatever situation the Lord puts one person, it's always there is a purpose behind it. So he prays to the Lord in such situation. Just like Kunti Maharani. We heard how Kunti Maharani prayed to the Lord, right? Let more and more difficulties come. She's master already. She became master of difficulties. So now she's saying, let more and more difficulties come to me, because if difficulties come, then I can remember Krishna more and more. And that is the only purpose of life. So that is master level. So like that we have different. So therefore, this is the important point. Devotees see the hand of the Lord in happiness and suffering. So that faith, pure devotees are very strong. They have this faith. They may not understand really what may happen, right? It's inconceivable because the Lord's will is inconceivable. But their faith is unshakable, that everything happens by the Lord's will, and the Lord is guiding me. And whatever comes my way, it is for the benefit. Mm. Either it will help to develop someone's detachment, or it will help to develop someone will start thinking deeper about the nature of this material world. So all these kind of thoughts will come during these situations. And even though they know that the hand of the Lord is there in all situations, still there is a very important lesson we learned in the previous session, that Parikshit Maharaj, although he knew that the Lord acts in mysterious ways and Kali Yuga is foreordained and everything is going to happen this way, but still, did he allow things to just go on? Did he just say, "Oh, okay, this is Kali Yuga anyway, so let this happen. I will just why go against all this? I'll just sit and just pretend like I don't know." He didn't say this. He still took up his sword immediately and decided to act upon it. So, from this understanding, we can understand that devotees don't sit idly. They don't come and say, Prabhupada gives example in the purports. He talks about how in a rainy season, you don't say, oh, it's rainy season. What for want to carry umbrella? I just get wet anyway. No, even though it's rainy season, we still carry umbrella. We still take precautions. We still do things so that to avoid ourselves getting wet. So even though it's Kali Yuga, that doesn't mean one just allows things to happen as it is. One takes precautions, especially people in authority. They have big responsibility to do what is necessary to ensure that the will of the Lord is established, that the rule of the Lord is, that justice is established, that people are protected, dharma is upheld. All these things are the purpose of the devotees. So devotees always act on behalf of the Lord. They don't idly, they don't behave like, so that we understood from our previous understanding. So we heard all this previously. So then, after speaking like this to the bull, Dharma, Parikshit Maharaj immediately took out his sword. He understood already, okay, now I understand exactly what is the problem. This is the miscreant. This personality has come and attacked you, and he is threatening, and this cannot happen in this Rajyam of mine. So therefore, in the name of the Lord, in the name of Goraksha, I will uphold Dharma. So the punishment for such a person, this personality of Kali, he did several mistakes, several offenses. Number one, he pretended to be a king. So that was offense number one. And number two, he was attacking a bull, which is considered blasphemy. You cannot strike, in Vedic society, ahimsa is very much upheld. And the height of the breaking of the ahimsa is to attack a bull or a cow or a brahmana. So here, this Kali was doing that. And to a helpless creature. And this bull was crying in pain. And he wasn't showing mercy, even though the bull was crying in pain. So that was the third sin. So therefore, such a person should immediately be killed according to Manu's law. So, but therefore, Parikshit Maharaj took out his sword, about to strike. So we hear, so when this is where we stopped in a previous session, verse 1729. And Kali understood that the king was willing to kill him. he at once abandoned the dress of a king. So he gave up his pretense. So this is what happens, right? A false leader can easily be shown that the person is false. The hypocrisy cannot last, right? All it just takes is a steadfast, truthful personality who can point out that person. So, therefore, in the face of such a situation, Parikshit Maharaj was an extremely powerful personality. He is called Vishnu Ratha. Even Brahmashtra couldn't kill him. He was protected by Lord Vishnu himself. So, in the face of the sword of Parikshit Maharaj, this personality of Kali, couldn't do anything. So he knew he was in extreme danger, that his only way is to quickly abandon the dress of a king. So he gave up that offense. And due to Bhaya, he did the next thing, which was guarantee that he would be protected. He completely surrendered to him, bowing his head. So he gave in to Parikshit Maharaj. He begged for mercy. So that is that was his trick. So he did that. So anyway, now continuing. So we now move to 1730. So patitam padayor veeraha kripaya deenavatsalaha saranye navadite chlokya aha chedam hasan eva. So when personality of Kali did this, when he surrendered, when he gave up and he accepted his mistake, and then he begged for forgiveness and fell at the feet of Parikshit Maharaj, then what did he do? So Parikshit Maharaj was extremely very qualified. Particularly, he's called here as Saranyaha. That means one who is qualified to accept surrender, or someone one can surrender to. That means there are different people, one cannot simply surrender to people, because there are people, their qualifications must be there. Like one surrenders to a qualified bona fide guru. One doesn't surrender to some pretender or someone who's a cheater. So Parikshit Maharaj qualities were so great that he is someone worthy of taking shelter, of falling and surrendering to. So therefore, he is a worthy personality. He's Saranyaha. So such personalities who are worthy of surrender, right? They are also very, very compassionate. So, and he is also Slokayaha. So a Kshatriya, the code of the Kshatriya is when someone surrenders to him, and a proper Kshatriya, a Vedic warrior, a Vedic Kshatriya is mentioned that he must allow mercy. He cannot, a person who has already surrendered, begging for mercy, asking for something, if the Kshatriya strikes down such a person, then that is called a cowardly act. It is heinous and it's not accepted. It's sinful. So he should. So a proper Kshatriya, worthy of being sung in history, a hero, Vedic hero, also shows compassion, isn't it? We don't talk about heroes who are not compassionate. Heroes are, of course, very chivalrous, great fighters, very powerful, but their compassion is also glorified. So that makes a full-rounded hero, right? So Shlokaya, Parikshit Maharaj is one who is worthy of being sung in history. So he did not kill the poor, surrendered, and fallen Kali. So this is what happened. He he allowed this personality of Kali to live. So Parikshit Maharaj then smiled compassionately. So Hasan means smile. So that's the nature of great Rajarishis. Even though they are Kshatriyas, right? So they are ready to take up their sword and ready to uphold Dharma, ready to attack without fear and favor. But the moment someone accepts them as a shelter, it is the code. A righteous Kshatriya will accept that person. So that is what he did. So he smiled compassionately because he was Kripaya Dina Vatsalaha. So Kripaya means the fallen Dina Vatsalaha. That means he is the protector and the friend of those who are fallen. just like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Krishna is also like that, right? So when the Lord is like that, the devotees are also like that. They also imbibe the same compassion and the qualities of the Lord. So Prabhupada gives a purport. He was smiling, Parikshit Maharaj was smiling because the artificially dressed Kali was disclosed his identity as a lower class man. Kali, pretending otherwise, now he has revealed his real situation and real position. So therefore, Parikshit Maharaj was smiling. So it was an ironic situation. When someone talks a lot, and then when someone who talks a lot is revealed to be a hypocrite or a pretender, the other person might give a ironic smile. See, finally he's revealed. So that kind of smile is what Parikshit Maharaj is giving here. Prabhupada is saying. So he was thinking how ironic it was that although no one was saved from his sharp sword, when he desired to kill, the poor lower class Kali was spared by his timely surrender. So because Kali, he went and he did this, he invoked upon a quality of Parikshit Maharaj, which is something of a pride in Parikshit Maharaj. So this quality, right? Parikshit Maharaj will talk about it. So Rajo Vacha, Parikshit Maharaj spoke. Nate Guda Kesha Yasodharanam Badanjaler Vai Bayam Asti Kinchit. So he's saying, we have inherited the fame of Guda Kesha. You have taken shelter of me. You have come and said, you have laid down your weapon and you have taken shelter of me. And Guda Kesha, who's Guda Kesha? You remember? That's Arjuna, right? Conqueror of sleep, conqueror of the mode of ignorance. So we have inherited the fame of Arjuna. Therefore, since you have surrendered yourself with folded hands, you do not have to need for fear of your life. So the Pandavas are very famous for their mercy. They were great warriors, but they were also very, very merciful to those who surrender to them and accept their protection. So since you have done the same, I am coming from their lineage. I have also inherited the same quality. So therefore, you do not have to fear for your life. And then he continues, Na vartitavyam bhavata kanchana etre madiye tvam adharma bandhu. But even though I spare you of your life, but you cannot be allowed to live in my kingdom. So Parikshit Maharaj was not a false king who was subjected to flattery. So he knows dharma. So he accepts mercy, but he's not a foolish person or he's not a low class person to fall for flattery. So he understands you are a very dangerous person. This is your nature. Yes, you have taken shelter of me. I cannot kill you now, but neither can you be allowed to live in my kingdom. Right? So he has not forgotten his responsibility. Why he cannot be allowed to live in my kingdom? So he says, because you are adharma bandhu. You are clearly he can see this person cannot be reformed. This person is crooked to the core. You know, so this is the power of discrimination of the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas. They are able to understand what is what. They don't get fooled, right? With the understanding born out of scripture, they can easily understand who is what, who is a crooked person, who is a cheater, right? Therefore, he knows you are adharma bandhu, you are a friend of all irreligiosity. There is nothing straight in you. So you may pretend now, you can show, but I am not going to allow you in my kingdom. And then he says, but he also recognizes who he is. He says, if the personality of Kali, religion, is allowed to act as a Nara Deva, what will happen if I allow you to remain in my kingdom? And you are personality of Kali, you are irreligion itself. If you are allowed to act as Nara Deva means king amongst the men or leader amongst the men. So amongst men, leadership is a very important position. So one who takes up a position of leadership has to ensure that one is, guided by a Brahmana or guided by a guru, one who can see clearly the vision laid out by the Lord. So, such a personality who is guided by scripture and protected by the mercy of the Guru or the Brahmanas, he can be a leader, right? He understands what is real justice. He can understand because he doesn't speculate about justice. He follows the codes or the law set by the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, who can see past, present, and future, who understands the full context of any code of justice, right? So, therefore, if you are allowed to remain in my kingdom and act as a leader or an executive head, certainly adharma will abound. There will be irreligiosity everywhere in my kingdom. In which way? In which ways will irreligiosity be coming? What are the symptoms? So then Parikshit Maharaj lays them down. There will be greed, lobha, right? So a leader cannot be greedy. If he is, right, then there will be such signs amongst the people, the population in this world. So greed, lobha. Falsehood will also abound everywhere. Anartham, that is falsehood. Deceit and cheating. Robbery, chauriam. So all this we can see now in Kali Yuga. We have so-called leaders, heads of administrations and heads of societies and whatever. So people are such third-class people, or people pretending to be a very pious or a great personality. Sometimes it's very easy to unearth them. So when we see these qualities happening in the leadership or in the society or within the uh, amongst the people such people are leading, so then we can understand that this is a false person. So robbery, so exploitation will happen. The people will be robbed, right, in different ways. Incivility, anariam, there will be lots of incivil behavior. What is civil? It is upside down. So you can see in Kali Yuga, isn't it? All kinds of, it's very, very civilized to eat beef on a plate with fork and spoon on a table in an aircon room, speaking very cultured words. But so they consider it uncivil for someone to go around chanting Hare Krishna in the streets, or to so this kind of behavior people have come in Kali Yuga. So incivility is abound. Treachery, you cannot trust anybody. They will backstab you. If you think that this leader is a nice leader, and then you go and tell something in confidence, and you can see that that person has betrayed you. So that is treachery. You can see that in society. Misfortune. So all of these, greed, falsehood. Greed is the source for falsehood, robbery, incivility, and treachery. And when these all are abound and they start to multiply, then obviously misfortune becomes the rule of the day. Cheating becomes abound everywhere. Maya. So society who is under these qualities, they become cheated because they are led astray away from the purpose of human life. They are led astray chasing after a mirage. The entire society is chasing after mirage of so-called material happiness, which is only bringing them towards hell. So that is what will happen when we have false leaders, Naradeva of an executive head, who is a friend of Adharma. Quarrel. Definitely there will be quarrel everywhere. Kalaha. So this is also common, you can see. And vanity, damba, false pride, extreme false pride. If you remember in Bhagavad Gita chapter 16, Krishna talks about the divine and the demoniac quality. The first quality that defines a demon is not the fangs of the demon, it's not the claws of the demon, it's not the red scary eyes of the demon, or even the horns of the demon, or the tongue of the demon. It is pride, damba. So pride, conceit, arrogance, these three things define a demon, and that will be in society. So Maharaj Parikshit knows this very well. So he says, I cannot allow you to remain because then society will be full of these things. Therefore, O Adharma Bandhu, O friend of religiosity, you do not deserve to remain in a place, especially where athletes perform sacrifices according to Dharmena Satyena, according to the truthfulness of religiosity, for the satisfaction of the Yajna Ishwaram. So he's telling, especially more important is such people, they need to be removed from a society which is working towards satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like, for example, in ISKCON, right? What we do? We chant Hare Krishna, right? So that is Yajna, that is Sankirtan Yajna. So who is the Yajna Ishwaram? The Lord of Yajna. The Lord of Yajna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? Sri Krishna. So, and in such a society which is full of who perform these sacrifices carefully according to scripture, Dharmena Satyena. So, in a serious society where everybody is trying their best to follow and to take up spirituality seriously, there is no room for miscreants. There is no room for dharma bandhu, people or those who are completely crooked, because they will spoil the situation, they will create situation, they will create havoc, and they will lead people astray, they will start cheating people. So that is the danger, right? So not only in spiritual societies, in society, but here it's particularly mentioned here in a spiritual society. Therefore, O Adharma Bandhu, you do not deserve to remain in a place where experts perform sacrifices according to Dharmena Satyena for the satisfaction of Yajna Ishwaram. So, like that, right? So we have to be careful. So therefore, in practically speaking, right? Kshatriyas are important to protect Brahmanas. Kshatriyas are meant to protect Brahminical culture. In other words, they are meant to protect devotees and devotee society from infiltration or from pollution of unwanted personalities who are demonic. So that is necessary. So sometimes this protection is not there, but what we have to do, we have to be very careful with our discrimination. We have to understand, we have to develop the vision in order for us to understand who is a serious personality, who is a someone who is trying very hard, and who is someone who is there simply to create havoc and to create a problem. So then our devotional creeper is protected. Otherwise, there is danger. So, the primary function of a Kshatriya is to protect. So then Parikshit Maharaj continues. In all sacrificial ceremonies, although sometimes a demigod is worshipped, Harir Bhagavan Idyamanais, the soul of all worshipable deities, is worshipped. The Supreme Lord is the ultimate beneficiary. Bhuktaram Yajna Tapasham, right? In chapter 5, the last verse, Krishna says, He is the Lord of all sacrifices. So in life, we see, in Malaysia, we go to India sometimes, we see different fire sacrifices or there are different types of sacrifices. One type of sacrifice is fire sacrifice, yagyas. So sometimes certain yagyas are carried out in the name of some devatas, but it's described that the very fire itself is the tongue of Vishnu. So ultimately, one demigod's name may be invoked, but the ultimate beneficiary of all yagyas is ultimately the Supreme Lord, the Yagneshwar. The Yagneshwar is given to the name of Lord Vishnu and none other, right? So we can see here, Bhagavad Gita purport also, Prabhupada mentions the same. So, because he is the super soul of everyone and exists both anta and bahi, that means inside and outside everything, just like air. So, the Lord is, in other words, all permeating. He's everywhere. Therefore, he's called Vibhu. He's great. Everywhere he's there. And therefore, his another name is also Vishnu. Vishnu also means all pervading everywhere. So he is and therefore, in Parikshit Maharaj is saying, uh, the society, human society is protected. I am protecting human society in the name of Lord Vishnu, in the name of Lord Krishna, and therefore I have a role. I cannot allow you to remain in this society where everyone is working towards the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu. Right? So, yes, it is He only who awards all welfare to the worshipper. So, again, a mention about the Supreme Personality of Godhead's position as Jagneshwar. So, Prabhupada says, to propagate the systematic transcendental knowledge of devotional service is the greatest mercy that one can show in this world. So there are different types of yajnas. Some people do sacrifices. They do charity. Charity is also a sacrifice. Then some people do social work. Social work is also a type of sacrifice. Basically, anything where we sacrifice or we give or voluntarily give away something which we care about, something which we cherish. What are the things we care about? Of course, in material world, everybody cares about money. But money is one thing only. More important than money is time. If somebody sacrifices one's time to dedicate his time for the service or the pleasure of the Lord, like chanting Hare Krishna, we sacrifice our time. How much? How? What's the value of time? Can time be bought by money? Right? We know, right? Time cannot, even 1 second of time, no matter how much money we have in this world, it cannot buy time. So, therefore, time is more important. And more important than time is our heart and our minds. If we dedicate our minds, if we remember the Lord, if we always think of the Lord, then it's even more powerful. So Prabhupada is saying, spending 50% for the service of the Lord or for propagation of spiritual knowledge in society by way of Sankirtan Yagya is the maximum display of human mercy. So we want to be charitable, right? We want to do charity or we want to do any kind of sacrifice. Let's just do the best sacrifice. Why want to, if we want to be rich, why go for 10 ringgit? Why go for 50 ringgit? Why go for 100 ringgit? Why not just go for 1 trillion ringgit, right? Why not we just go for 1 trillion ringgit? So Prabhupada is saying, if we have to spend our time or our energy or whatever it is to do some charity, instead of doing any other charity, which anybody else in this world is doing already, there are already so many organizations doing food, giving free, free food or free whatever, everything. But we can do something which nobody else can do. We can give them Krishna Bhakti. We can give them Krishna Bhakti through two ways. Through uh, through the knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam, by preaching Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, by giving this knowledge to people, by book distribution, even one little thing they understand that will change their not only their life, it will change their entire existence in this material creation. The soul will begin its journey back to Godhead, to cease its birth after birth. So rather than doing any other charity, why not just, since we know this is the topmost charity, so that's why Prabhupada is using this word, you see. Sankirtan Yagya is the maximum display of human mercy. Maximum. If you want to be merciful to anybody, of course, we also do other things, right? When somebody is hungry, you don't tell them to chant Hare Krishna. First, you give them prasadam, and then you tell them to chant Hare Krishna. So we satisfy the immediate problem first, and then we give them the long-term solution. The immediate problem solution cannot stop the person getting hungry again. But chanting Hare Krishna can stop a person getting hungry again because it can stop human life. It can stop the cycle of birth and death. So therefore, that's the long-term solution. So then Sutta Goswami, seeing this, this is Sutta Goswami narrating what is happening to the sages of Naimisaranya. And he's telling how this situation happened, how the bull and the cow ill-treated like this by this Kali personified, how Parikshit Maharaj came and arrested this Kali, and then Kali was trembling in fear and took shelter of Parikshit Maharaj. And Parikshit Maharaj, instead of killing him, this is what he did. He gave mercy. He allowed him to keep his life, but he cannot remain in this world. Now, Parikshit Maharaj was the emperor of the entire world. So where will Kali go if Kali cannot remain in the kingdom of Parikshit Maharaj? You remember, this was the question the sages of Naimisaranya asked Sutta Goswami. They were surprised because when they heard about how Parikshit Maharaj didn't kill this person, they were surprised. Why he didn't kill? Can you tell us why he didn't kill? If it is in relation with Krishna Katha, then you tell us, right? Remember that. So therefore, now he's telling why he didn't kill, right? Because he took surrender. But what's the solution? What is the solution? Where will Kali go? So seeing the king before him, like Dandapanim. Dandapanim is another name for Yamaraj. Dandapani means the holder of the rod of chastisement. You know, if you want to, like those days, we were in school, we used to have a very, very strict discipline teacher. And this strict discipline teacher will walk about like a tiger. He will carry a cane. Everybody is scared of that cane. So people used to be very, very, as soon as he comes, only everyone will be quiet. They even hear the whisper of his name. All silence will be there because they were scared of the cane. So like that, the ultimate personality in Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says, amongst punishment, amongst methods of correction, I am punishment. So, and the Lord of punishment is Yamaraj, who is one of the 12 Mahajans, right? And he holds a very scary cane, a rod. So, Danda Panim, one who holds the rod. Danda means a rod. So, that's Yamaraj. So, seeing Parikshit Maharaj looking like Dandapanim, looking like Maharaj Parikshit, because he's holding a fearsome sword, ready to kill him, Kali immediately spoke to the king as follows. So now Kali starts to speak. Oh, Sarva Bhauma. So Kali, being a very crooked personality, a friend of irreligion, he knows the art of flattery. So he starts to flatter, right? Desperate for life, he starts to flatter. Oh, Sarva Bhauma. Oh, Lord of the earth. Sarva Bhauma means Lord of the entire earth. Bhauma means earth. So, oh Lord of everywhere, the whole earth belongs to you. Though I may live anywhere on earth and everywhere under your order, I shall but see you with bow and arrows wherever I look, because this is my nature. I'm Kali. This is my nature. Everywhere I will do these things only. I cannot be corrected. So what's going to happen? Now you protected me, but again I may do the same thing. So everywhere on earth that this will happen. But I have taken shelter of you and you have promised me shelter. So what's the solution? Therefore, O Dharma Britam Shrestha, O chief amongst protectors of religion. Ali is now telling Parikshit Maharaj, you are the chief amongst all the protectors of religion. So indeed, Parikshit Maharaj embodies that. He is the one of the great Rajarishi kings, right? We heard previously. That's why Srimad Bhagavatam took some time to describe the glories of Parikshit Maharaj, so we can fully understand and appreciate the qualities of Parikshit Maharaj. What a personality this person is! The Lord personally came to save him in the womb itself. He is the grandson of Arjuna, right? The son of Abhimanyu, the great hero. So, therefore, O Dharma Britam Shrestha, one who is the chief amongst all protectors of religion, please fix me a place for me where I can live permanently under the protection of your government. Because I cannot go anywhere. So please tell me where I can live. So, remember, I mentioned previously also that a king is not just king of human beings. When someone is a leader or a king, it doesn't mean they're just For their species only they are leader. It's not only for them. A king is a leader for everyone. Not everyone, all living beings. Sarva Praja, right? Sarva Praja means all living. Praja means all living entities. So even the animals have a right to live. Even the plants are not unnecessarily cut down, right? So everything has a purpose and a destiny, and nothing is exploited unnecessarily. So Praja. So therefore, O Dharma Britam Shrestha, please fix some place for me where I can live permanently under the protection of your government. Prabhupada gives us purport. A surrendered soul should be given all protection. So because this Kali took shelter of Parikshit Maharaj has to give protection to this Kali. Even though he may be an enemy, that is the principle of religion, right? So this is there. Anyone who fights with a warrior who fights, when a warrior uh, says, I surrender, I wave the white flag, please, you know, even up to today, even in World War One, World War Two, this was happening. You can always raise the white flag of surrender, the surrender flag. Even the Nazis and the Allied forces are fighting. So if somebody lost already, they want to save their lives, they raise their flags. Of course, what happens after that, sometimes there's war crime and all that. But in general, even in the world up to today, this is still accepted. This is the code of the Kshatriya, coming down all the way from Manu's law. So Prabhupada continues, we can just imagine what sort of protection is given by the personality of Godhead to the person who surrenders unto him, not as an enemy, but as a devoted servitor. Now, this is the code of religion is even if an enemy surrenders to a person, one has to give him protection. So now Prabhupada is saying, imagine you are not an enemy, just an enemy surrenders to a person. Just like Lord Krishna, even a demon, he's an enemy. Of course, they don't surrender, they are killed by the Lord, and even they are killed by the Lord, they are given liberation, isn't it? Or sometimes even higher. But what so much more if that person is a devotee? If someone is a devotee and he surrenders not as an enemy, but as a loving servitor, how much more the Lord will reciprocate with that person, right? So that is the understanding. That's why we have this verse in Bhagavad Gita chapter 4. Krishna says, what Krishna says? Tam stataiva bhajami aham. Tam stataiva bhajami aham. Uh, how did it start? It starts with anyway. The translation is, "As one surrenders unto me, I reward him accordingly." So reward is not really the word; it's more like I reciprocate with him accordingly, according to one's person's surrender. Ye yatama, can I remember? Ye yatamam prapajyante tam stathaiva bhajami aham. So as one surrenders unto me, I will reciprocate with that person. So if one reciprocates with prema bhakti, or even in our vidhi, vaidhi bhakti, we are trying in our situation, even still it's bhakti. If it's pure devotion, then Krishna will even more open his eyes and reciprocate with us. So anyway, back to this. So Suta Uvacha. So Suta Goswami is continuing the narration. He says, Maharaj Parikshit, thus being petitioned by the personality of Kali, gave him permission to reside in places. So Parikshit Maharaj gave him a place in his kingdom. Where are the places? The places are number one, Dyutam. Dyutam means gambling. So wherever there is gambling going on, wherever there is panam, panam means drinking of beverages, intoxicating beverages. Wherever there is intoxication going on, wherever there is striyaha, association, illicit association of the opposite sex or prostitution, in other words, and wherever there is suna, suna means animal slaughter, wherever there is animal slaughter. So wherever these things are happening, then you can reside in those places, Parikshit Maharaj has said. So we can understand, right? Gambling, intoxication, illicit sexual activity, and meat eating. Sounds familiar? Yes. So these are the four principles which we all say before we take initiation, isn't it? So Prabhupada didn't simply set up, there are all kinds of societies, all kinds of spiritual masters. Different societies, they have different rules. Sometimes it's just whimsical rules. But Prabhupada is not whimsical. He took his regulations from the Srimad Bhagavatam itself, no less, right? So the very principle of religiosity, what to speak of our bhakti and prema bhakti and whatnot, when we don't even stand on the principles of religiosity itself. And the four legs of religion are these, right? So Satyam, Saucham, Daya, and Tapa. Saucham is destroyed by striyaha, prostitution, illicit sexual activity. Uh, and then tapaha is destroyed. Tapaha means austerity. Austerity is destroyed by drinking, intoxication. And Prabhupada, we mentioned also, Panam also refers to pride. Intoxicated by liquor, intoxicated by drugs, intoxicated by pride. These things all intoxicate. And gambling destroys, or deceit, because where there's gambling, there is deceit, and deceit destroys satyam. Hmm? And we have suna, animal slaughter, so that destroys daya, or mercy. How can there be mercy in such a place? And it's very interesting. Another word, this word suna, suna has another meaning in Sanskrit. It means animal slaughter, but it also means envy. Envy. So, in other words, we should also avoid envy. Because if you know, envy is the main reason why we are here in this material world, isn't it? So, anyway, in this world, envy is very poisonous. It's one of the worst matsarya. You know, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. Matsarya, this is the most insidious of all the things. It is very, very damaging. It's burning in the heart always. When someone has envy in their heart, everything they see, they touch becomes inauspicious. You know, it's because their heart is burning. They cannot be peaceful, and it will drive them to insanity. So that's why an envious creature, the scriptures say, to be merciful to the envious creature, you can kill the envious creature and you don't get sin. That's why things like creatures like snakes, uh, you know, or scorpions, even if you kill them, there is no sin according to scripture. But that doesn't mean one goes about killing them, right? If they are, but the point is one shouldn't wantonly kill them. But if at all it happened in such a situation, then there is no sin in killing, because you're actually relieving them of their terrible, miserable body, because they are burning with that envy, poison in the heart. So anyway, so devotees should be also, when we go for our initiation vows, right? For regulatory principles, not eating meat, that also means upholding mercy, and it also means staying away from envy. Because in an envious person's heart, there is no mercy, cannot remain there. So wherever these things are performed, Kali can stay there. This is the perfect place for Kali to remain. The Prabhupada continues, but such activities are factually adharma. So one may think that, sometimes in scripture, it is allowed, because some people, they follow certain scriptures like the tantras, and they sacrifice meat, they sacrifice animals like goat, and then they eat that during the dark moon, right? So like now dark moon, yesterday dark moon. So in some places in the world, people will be sacrificing goats to various deities like Kali, or some kind of any other kind of a deity, and or Bhairava. Bhairava is another deity. So like that, but these things are there in the scripture, but it's meant for those in the mode of ignorance. You know, the Vedas cannot be given, it, everybody cannot follow the same thing. In this world, we have different types of people. We have people in the mode of ignorance, mode of passion, mode of goodness, mix between goodness, passion, goodness, ignorance. So there are all kinds of people in this world. There cannot be one solution for everybody, because not everybody will be inclined. You cannot ask everybody to wake up for Mangalarati. Yes, some people, you can become like that, but it takes effort, it takes purification. So in order to benefit these kind of societies which are very much addicted, when a person is addicted to these things, it's not easy for them to give up. So what to do for them? They can't follow the higher principles. So what to do for them? So therefore, certain parts of the scripture is given just for these people, so that at least they regulate it. No, yeah, fine, they're addicted. How do you get rid of addiction? By beginning regulation, right? By regulating slowly, 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 the addiction can be removed. So therefore, the purpose of these scriptures in the mode of ignorance, right? So they are meant for these people who are naturally attracted to these scriptures. So at least by following these scriptures, according to those rules and regulations, then they will get some benefit. They will get a purification of consciousness in their next life, right? So slowly, 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 they will elevate their consciousness to a higher level. Of course, they still suffer the sin. The sin, they cannot, no escaping the sin, but at least there is a hidden benefit also. So we should not misunderstand to think that these injunctions in these other scriptures are actually encouraging people to do bad things. So like that, so there is also sometimes rules in certain scriptures for gambling. There is also certain situations in a certain time where drinking, like there is one kind of a yagya. Prabhupada describes there is one type of yagya, Sautramani yagya, where in that yagya, liquor, wine drinking is there. But that is prohibited in Kali Yuga. But still, anyway, but it's in a particular situation. It doesn't mean that they are encouraged to do it. It is just a way of regulating. That means only that time they can drink. Other time they shouldn't. So that's a way of regulation. Hmm? Prabhupada says such activities in given in the scriptures in the lower modes, right, are factually adharma, and they are never to be encouraged. Recommendations in these lower scriptures are not meant for the encouragement of such adharma, but it's meant for regulation, so that the necessary adharma gradually moves towards the path of dharma. So people can gradually become reformed by following some regulation, so their addiction can be treated. That's the idea. I hope that is clear. So then the personality of Kali asked for the personality of Kali asked for something more. So why? Because the personality of Kali was not satisfied. Maharaj Parikshit gave 4 places to stay, but this is Maharaj Parikshit, his kingdom. The entire world is his kingdom. He's a Raja Rishi, right? Where in this kingdom can he find where there is meat eating? The moment there is meat eating, Parikshit Maharaj will be there with his sword. The moment there is gambling, Parikshit Maharaj will be there with his sword. The moment there is prostitution, he will be there with his sword. So, how illicit activity? So, how can there is no place? Although Parikshit Maharaj gave these places to stay, but Kali knew, practically speaking, there is no place. The place you gave me, I cannot stay there because they don't exist in your kingdom at the moment, right? So, then personality of Kali asked for something more. And because of his begging, king gave him permission to live where there is gold. So there is no way but where there is gold. So gold, that is the one concession given to Kali. Because wherever there is gold, there is also, falsity, intoxication, lust, and envy. That's a fact, isn't it? Gold represents wealth. Now, where do we find intoxication? Mostly a lot of wealthy people. Poor people sometimes can't afford to buy all these kind of drinks and all that. It's expensive, you know. So rich people, they don't know what to do with their money. So therefore, they can easily satisfy lusty behavior. They have clubs, they have opportunities for them. So therefore, in this way, there is gold, there is also falsity, intoxication, and lust and envy. So we hear this in the Damodar Ashtakam, in the Damodar pastime. Who was the one who was cursed by Narada Muni? Nalakuvera and Manigriva. These are the two sons of the Lord of Wealth, Kubera. So, they didn't have to earn it. They are just enjoying the wealth of their father. So what they were doing, they were swimming naked in a swimming pool in the company of all kinds of ladies, and they were drinking. They were so drunk that they didn't even realize they were naked. And when Narada Muni walked by, they didn't have even the little bit of understanding to cover themselves, to offer respect to the Muni. So, looking at them in such a pathetic condition, understanding their destination is very, very fallen, Narada Muni gave them the blessing or the curse to become trees. So they are cursed to become a tree, but the blessing from the Narada Muni, this is Narada Muni's blessings or curses never go in vain. His curses are actually blessings. Is to punish the person for his mistake, but at the same time to give that person unprecedented opportunity to be born as a tree on the courtyard of Lord Krishna himself, where Krishna will play in that place, and to be delivered by Lord Krishna. That was the opportunity Narada Muni gave to these two people. So anyway, the point here is wherever there is gold, there is falsity. Wherever there is wealth, there will be falsity, intoxication, lust, and envy, particularly in Kali Yuga. This is the power of Kali Yuga, to use wealth in this kind of different horrible ways. So Prabhupada says, therefore, the age of Kali began with gold standardization. He uses these words. The age of Kali began with gold standardization. So then he says, gold standard currency is based on falsehood because the currency is not on par with reserved gold. So that's a fact, isn't it? So instead of paper currency, actual gold should be used for exchange. And this will stop the prostitution of gold. What is the prostitution of gold? Prostitution of gold is what Prabhupada says. What happens is people used to keep gold, governments used to keep gold, and then they produce currency based on how much gold reserve they have. But over the years, this is no longer true. There is falsity in there. People are falsely saying that they have this much of reserve, but actually the gold reserves are not as much as they are. So people are starting to print money, and that's where inflation comes. So the very fact inflation comes is due to this. So it is a falsehood. So therefore, paper currency based on a gold standard is actually being falsely uh, exploited by capitalists in this modern era, right? So instead of paper currency, better to have gold currency where gold coins, actual gold coins, are used, because then you cannot have, at least falsity is broken down. At least you cannot say that a country is very rich because the gold coin in that country is only finite. They can't get some more from other places. Anyway, so that is the idea. So wherever there is gold, there is falsity, intoxication, lust, and envy. Personality of Kali, by the directions of Maharaj Parikshit, the son of Uttara, was allowed to live in those Panchasthanam, five Sthanam places. What are the five places? Illicit activities, intoxication, meat eating or envy, and the fourth one is gambling, right? The fifth one is wherever there is hoarding of gold. So therefore, whoever desires progressive well-being, especially kings, religionists, public leaders, gurus, brahmanas, and sannyasis, should never come in contact with four irreligious principles. So therefore, that's why we are all trying to come to this progressive well-being, right? We are trying to move in the spiritual direction. So therefore, we should be very careful. That's why we need to uphold these four regulative principles very carefully. Our spirituality cannot be stable if the four regulative principles are not strictly followed. Strictly followed. They have to be strictly followed. So that's another deep subject matter. But for now, those are four. What about the fifth? What about gold? So here the verse clearly says, but the verse uses the word etani, all of these. So that includes Panchasthanam, all of them. But Prabhupada mentions particularly stay away from gambling, intoxication, meat eating, and illicit activity. This one, no playing around with it. Nothing to do with it. Get rid of it completely. Push it outside because that's adharma. But gold, there is an exception. We will hear about this in the next verse. Thereafter, the kings re-established the lost legs of the bull. So, Apa, Daya, Satyam, Saucham. Austerity, mercy, purity or cleanliness, and truthfulness. These four legs are established back. So Parikshit Maharaj re-established these four broken legs of the bull. How did he do that? So that is the power of the king. The king, he can re-establish the pillars of religiosity using his government, uh, using his ability as a administrator. And in order to administer, in order to govern, what do you need? You need gold. So Prabhupada says about gold, but under the guidance of a proper king or a public leader or a brahmana or a sannyasi or a guru, or in other words, a pure devotee of the Lord, the same gold or wealth can be properly utilized to re-establish the lost legs of the bull, the personality of religion. So therefore, gold is something we have to avoid only if we are materialistic. But if we are acting under the guidance of a bona fide leader or a king or a brahmana or a guru, then we can utilize the same wealth in the right way, right? So we don't artificially renounce. We don't say, oh, I'm following the spiritual path. I don't want to have anything to do with money. I don't want to have anything to do with gold. So Prabhupada likes to say, there is this Ramakrishna. He used to say, I don't want to touch money. If anybody gives money, he said, I don't give it to me. I cannot touch money. Put it under my table. So he will not touch money, it seems. But under the table, the money is all there, at least in public. But the point here is, of course, but Prabhupada says, I'm not like Ramakrishna. You give me money, I will take it. I will take the money, not only I'll take the money, I'll count the money, and I will use every penny for the personality of Godhead, for the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada established that kind of establishment in ISKCON also, where money is given. So we use it for creating wonderful festivals, isn't it? ISKCON creates one of the best festivals in the world. We have Radha Yatras. So even with nothing, people were poor. The devotees, they don't even have food. But they created such wonderful Radha Yatras during, the early 60s and the 70s in San Francisco, in London. So therefore, this is the idea. And Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami says, one who rejects everything without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna is not as complete in his renunciation. So the verse is Prapanchikataya buddhya hari sambandhi vastunaha mumukshubihi parityagyo vairagyam falgu katyate. Vairagya means to renounce. So that renunciation is false, falgu, false renunciation or incomplete renunciation, if he simply says, I reject, I reject, I reject, without understanding proper utility of everything for the service of the Lord. Now, you cannot use illicit sex, you cannot use meat eating, you cannot use gambling, and these are sin. It's clearly sin. But gold, wealth, can be used in the service of the Lord, right? So we don't reject wealth. That is on the strength of this verse. In fact, there's another verse which says, Anasaktasya Visayan Vatartam Upayunjataha Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagya Uchyate. When one is not attached to anything, but at the same time accepts everything in relation to Krishna, one is rightly situated above possessiveness. That is the perfection of renunciation. Use everything in the service of Krishna. That's why Prabhupada, he coins this term. Books are the basis. Everything we say is based on scripture. Preaching is the essence. Whatever we do, it is all meant for preaching, and it's to serve the Supreme Lord, right? Uh, books are the basis. Sorry, before that, books are the basis. Purity is the force. So we use scripture, we learn, we follow, all for the purpose of purifying ourselves. So with that purity, preaching is established. So people will believe when people speak. When someone has purity, then that person has some power to, people will not say that you're a pretender or you don't practice what you preach, right? So we have to establish purity within ourselves by following sadhana, by hearing and chanting, right? Following the four regulative principles. And then society will begin to see, oh, these ISKCON devotees are serious, huh? They are really, so that's the way they want so many hearts of important personalities, you know. They started to appreciate this movement. So Prabhupada was always insistent on that. We have to maintain the purity of this society. We have to follow the four regulative principles and maintain 16 rounds chanting minimum. Then purity is maintained. And utility is the means. So therefore, we use everything and everything for the service of the Lord. We don't reject anything. Somebody gives you a typewriter, we can use it to print out things for Krishna. Prabhupada got a dictaphone, he used it. He didn't reject modern inventions. Modern inventions were used by Prabhupada for the purpose of preaching. Right? So that's the idea. So the idea is wealth or gold, one should be cautious. When it comes to our own material sense gratification, we should be simple living, as simple as possible, right? And keep everything for the service of the Lord. Why? Because Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Bhogeshwarya prashaktanam taya paharta chetasam vyavasayatmikaha buddhihi samadao na vidiyate. One who is too much attached to bhoga and aishwarya, to opulence, wealth, and pleasure, the steady development of spiritual knowledge or the steady one branched single-minded vision and determination for spiritual knowledge or spiritual attainment will not take place in that person. So that's why we have to be very careful. That's why renunciation or vairagya is prescribed as an austerity. But at the same time, we can use everything in the service of the Lord. So therefore, we get money, we can use it to cook wonderful meal for the Lord. We can use it to serve the devotees of the Lord. We can use it to go to holy places and to give in donation to all these places of we can give charity to the guru, to the sannyasis, to the brahmanas, right, to the brahmacharis. So many different ways money can be used. Now we have Kumbh Mela going on. In Kumbh Mela in Prayagraj, and I was, ISKCON they have set up a huge place. What they do, they are cooking 100,000 meals, hot meals. Now is the middle of winter. They are cooking 100,000 meals every day for 40 days in Kumbh Mela, right? So because they see the purity of devotees, They see, so and this is not ordinary meals. This is preaching. Hare Krishna chanting is going on. The people who take these meals, they come to the ISKCON Pandal, right, which is very large. Hare Krishna Mahamantra is going on. Prasadam is distributed to everybody. So this is real preaching. This is very nice. And books are being distributed as well. So money can always be used for the pleasure of the Lord. Wonderful festivals, wonderful seva, So this is the idea. But the idea is one should be cautious with gold, because the line between, oh, this is for the Lord and this is for my sense gratification, is very, very dangerous. So therefore we should always be guided by our seniors, guided by our spiritual master in the proper utilization of these wealth. According to, so then, right, and by encouraging activities he sufficiently improved the condition of the earth. So Parikshit Maharaj re-established the four legs of dharma, using all the money, using all the gold and everything, and he encouraged activities to improve the condition of the earth again. So the earth was once again, because although Lord Krishna is not present, Srimad Bhagavatam arose like the sun. Srimad Bhagavatam is none other than the Lord Himself. So wherever Hari Katha or Srimad Bhagavatam Katha is going on, it is to be understood that the Lord is present personally on the surface of the earth. So we want to spread this everywhere, all over the earth. So therefore, more and more Srimad Bhagavatam Katha should go on, should take place. And more Harinam Sankirtan should take place. And more Shravanam and Kirtanam, Hari Sankirtan, Hari Bhagavatam Katha. Then the whole world will be again, like how the cow said, Lord Krishna's footprints is everywhere on the face of the earth. And the earth will be very, very prosperous. Golden age. So remember, Bhudevi is one of the energies of the Lord. She is Lakshmi also, right? Bhudevi. And Lakshmi is best utilized in the service of the Lord. So Lakshmi is Chanchala. People like to worship Lakshmi. They like to keep pictures of Lakshmi. But Lakshmi should never be worshipped alone, because that is Ravana mentality. Ravana stole Sita and kept Sita by himself. Ravana didn't want Rama, he only wanted Sita. So Lakshmi, just worshipping Lakshmi alone, that mentality is to, I want to enjoy. Oh, let prosperity come to me, let wealth come to me. But actually, Lakshmi, she will never remain in such a place. Did Sita remain in such a place? Sita, because Maya Sita, right? Maya Sita. She will bewilder Ravana and she will never remain there. So the whole point is Lakshmi should be utilized for the purpose of, Lakshmi is always at the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. Sita is always with Rama. So in this way, one should utilize anything that comes our way, particularly wealth, directly in the worship of Lord Vishnu. So in this way, we can maintain our family, we can maintain our lives, and simple living, and channel as much as we can for the preaching of Srila Prabhupada's mission, of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. Then Mahabhaga Chakravarti Brihatravaha Rajarishi Parikshit. So many names are given here. Brihatravaha means highly famous. So Parikshit Maharaj is highly famous. He's Chakravarti, emperor of the entire earth. Is Kaurava Indra, the king of all the Kuru dynasty, the gem of the Kuru dynasty. So this is the glorification of Parikshit Maharaj. Such a personality, a Raja Rishi, he was the king of the world. So naturally, he was entrusted with the kingdom of Hastinapur by Maharaj Yudhishthira when he desired to retire to the forest. So Maharaj Yudhishthira gave this kingdom to Parikshit Maharaj. This Parikshit Maharaj is now ruling the world with great success, befitting the deeds of the kings of the Kuru dynasty. Under the guidance of such a personality, everything can be used for the pleasure of the Lord, and the earth and its people and its living beings will all prosper. And what's more, not only materially prosper, spiritually move in the right direction. Abhimanyu Sutta, the son of Abhimanyu, Parikshit Maharaj, so experienced that by dint of his administration and patronage, it has been possible for even all of you to perform a sacrifice such as this. So this is Sutta Goswami speaking to the sages of Naimisaranya. Naimisaranya forest, they all gathered over there because Kali Yuga was coming and Lord Krishna left. They were fearful and they were performing fire sacrifices for thousands of years. Everything was black with smoke. And such to perform thousands and thousands of sacrifices for thousands of years, it's only possible because of the personality of Parikshit Maharaj, who was such a great king that such facilities were available for them to do all this. So, and Sutta Goswami was reminding sages of Naimisaranya of this fact, that only because of such a great personality, Parikshit Maharaj, of such expert administration and patronage, you are all even able to perform such a sacrifice. So Prabhupada says the Brahmanas and Sannyasis are expert in the spiritual advancement of society. So that's why it's important that leadership of society needs to be someone who is a very spiritually advanced person. That's why society is led by Brahmanas, not Kshatriyas. Kshatriyas, they follow the instructions of the Brahmanas and they protect the Brahmanas and protect Dharma. That is the nature. But society is led by the clear-minded vision of the Brahmanas or the sannyasis or the gurus, because their vision is not disturbed by material disturbances. They understand the, 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 the full reactions of an action. If an action is to be performed, they understand the good reaction and the bad reaction fully. A Kshatriya may not be fully able to see the repercussion. A Vaishya even more cannot fully see the repercussion. He will only be able to see only the material aspect of it. So sometimes somebody from society may propose something, may propose an idea. The idea may be materialistically good, but it may not be spiritually good. So only a Brahmana could be able to differentiate this. One who sees with the eyes of scripture, Veda Chakshush. So he will be able to discriminate because his intelligence is clear, not polluted by the three modes. So therefore, the Brahmanas and Sannyasis are expert in the spiritual advancement of society, whereas the Kshatriyas or the administrators are expert in the material peace and prosperity of human society. The Kshatriyas and particularly the Vaishyas, they only know material peace. The Vaishyas are in charge of Goraksha, in charge of agriculture. Yes, it's very, very important for material peace. But the sannyasis and the brahmanas and the gurus, they understand higher purpose, not just plain mode of goodness. They talk about transcendence, the purpose of human life, to transcend this birth, the cycle of birth and death, and to attain prema bhakti, right? Prem Pumartu Mahan. The goal of life is to achieve prema or pure devotional love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they are always mindful of that. So they will never allow something, even if it's materially beneficial, but if it is negative for spiritual advancement. So that's why it's important to have someone like that as our director, to accept such a guru or a leader. Both of them are pillars of all happiness, and therefore they are meant for all full cooperation. So Brahmanas, Gurus, Sannyasis, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, they are all pillars of happiness. But they have to be cooperation between, right? So Vaishyas serve under the Kshatriyas, and both Vaishyas and Kshatriyas serve under the guidance of the Brahmanas, who are fully capable of directing society towards higher goals, not just material goals. All right, so that is the end of this chapter. We have completed the verse now. These are the topics, that subtopics we came across in this chapter, right? We heard about the punishment of Kali and the reward of Kali, and we heard about the exemplary governance of Parikshit Maharaj, the importance of accepting or surrendering to a powerful personality or a personality who is very pure, right? That's why Arjuna says, Arjuna surrenders to Lord Krishna in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, right? So therefore, it's important for human society to also accept someone like this. Vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadikshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshinaha. We have to take shelter of jnaninas tattva darshinaha, those who have seen the truth, right? And therefore we can perfect our activities. Okay, so with that we end Srimad Bhagavatam session today. All glories to Srimad Bhagavatam, Grantaraj, King of all scriptures. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadara, Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So thank you very much, everyone, for this session, for taking your time and hearing. So any questions, any clarifications, anything anyone wants to raise, any doubts, feel free to
Hare
unmute.
Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandar pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
Oh,
I thank you firstly for the session today. You were mentioning that once Parikshit Maharaj has banished Kali to the various areas that you mentioned,
yes.
and then the aim is to have Sankirtana movement and the Lord's teachings be spread all over the world.
Mhm.
But I also read somewhere that the movement and the idea of devotional service can only last for 10,000 years. Is it? Uh, and then after that, it's towards the worst will be coming to
Yeah.
humankind,
Yes.
or this movement only be 10,000 years. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yes, there is a prediction in one of the Puranas. I mentioned it last session. Something like that was asked previously also. Uh, I think one of the Puranas they mentioned it, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur also describes it in his writings. So we have 10,000 age of Kali. So this begins with the advent of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 500 years ago. So and we have this is actually because what is described about Kali Yuga in the scriptures cannot be false. The scriptures are always correct. So Kali Yuga is an age of darkness. It's a horrible age. If you see the descriptions about the age of Kali in the scriptures, it's extremely scary. So all that will come to pass. But at the same time, by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there is a window, a small window of opportunity. So what happens in Kali Yuga? Sinful people take birth in Kali Yuga. So, the jivas, we have all been in this material creation for millions and billions and trillions of lifetimes. And there are different planetary levels from 14 higher planetary systems, lower planetary systems. So, according to our activities and according to our desire, we travel up and down this material kingdom. So, and in Earth itself, there is Satya Yuga, there's Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga. So, in the beginning, those who take birth in the Satya Yuga are mostly pious people. And those who are not pious, they will take birth in the lower planetary systems. So, therefore, we have demons, we have pious people in the world, we have heavenly personalities in the Satya Loka. But as the ages turn, as Satya Yuga goes to Treta, Treta goes to Dwapara, this is still the material world, and the material world's nature is to deteriorate. So nothing good ever lasts in this material world. Just like if you take iron, iron is brand new, but eventually it becomes rusty. Nothing ever lasts. It is described that iron, we build our buildings with steel and concrete, so they can only last for 1,000 years, uh, or is it even 1,000? I think even 100 years probably. So otherwise they will start rusting, right? That's why those days they used to build with granite, can last for 10,000 years. But anyway, the point is in this material world, everything deteriorates. So the promise that everything deteriorates, which is there in the scripture, applies also in Kali Yuga, applies in this world. So world from Satya Yuga, Treta, Dwapara, it becomes Kali. it will deteriorate. And in Kali Yuga also, it's just beginning, just 500 years, just 5,000 years in Kali Yuga. But we have 428,000 years more to go. So out of 5,000, 428,000 more, it's going to get really dark. But within this small period, 500 years ago up to the next 9,500 years from now, this is a special opportunity within this dark age where even sinful, even very sinful people who take birth in Kali Yuga will get the opportunity to escape from this, to attain the highest perfection of human life. That is the very special mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So therefore, yes, you're right. It's only going to be there for the 10,000 years of this golden age. After that, things are just going to be too hellish, too horrible. It's going to be very difficult for anybody to take up anything. But there will be some vestiges of this bhakti movement which will survive. Somehow it will survive through very difficult situation, but it will be extremely rare, and it will be very, very hidden and very secret. It will not be revealed because otherwise they will be persecuted. And it will go on towards the end of Kali Yuga, and at that time it will start to blossom again. And from that family, Lord Kalki will descend. He will be born to a father and mother who are also devotees. So how will that happen? It will happen because of the secretive way in which bhakti will travel after that. So yes, for the 10,000 years is open to everybody. Hare Krishna, Mahamantra chanting and everything, everybody will know about it. It's just a matter of whether we take it up or not. Opportunity is there. But after 10,000 years, shop is closed. Very, very few secretive ways people only will be able to understand this. I hope that answers your question, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Haribo, Hare Krishna. Any other questions from anybody else? Any other clarification? No?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Haribo, okay, Hare Krishna.
I have a question, but it's getting late. I reserve my question for next week, Prabhu.
Sure, can. Thank you.
Because it's already 9:45.
Okay.
I've reserved my question for next week. I was waiting for somebody to ask a question. So
Can.
Thank you, Prabhu. Today class was very nice.
Thank
Really
you.
very.
Haribo, thank you very much for your kind words. Anyway, if anyone else has any other questions also, you can always put it on the chat in the WhatsApp group. We will be happy to answer. So, okay, so thank you very much for your time. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namaha. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for the wonderful
Thank
class.
you very much, Prabhu. Hare
Prabhu,
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you very much for the wonderful class.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.